So we got a question from Jason, who had an accident at his gym. So he was training with a guy who's been training for about a year, and he's been training for about 4.5, 5 years. He says that when he was rolling with this guy who's been training for a year, he put him in several submission attempts, and the guy just didn't tap, right? And then he said he got him in a third armbar, locked it out, and the guy still didn't tap, so he applied pressure. And then the person yelled in pain. Now, he hurt the guy a little bit. Now, no injuries, but still kind of maybe overextended the arm a little bit. And he felt terrible about it. He's like, man, I felt awful that I hurt the guy. He got up and apologized. He talked to his coach, and his coach said that, again, they're not playing patty cake, accidents happen. But he says that he's wondering, one, what's my take on accidents? And he also says that some of the guys in the gym have maybe made comments where they don't, like, so they say they don't want to roll with him because of the way that he is. And like one of them actually said, like, that's why I don't roll with you, because you do that kind of stuff. So again, we're going to talk about accidents and maybe something that might help you, because I've been there before as far as maybe not being the most controlled with some of my situations that I'm in. And again, this may apply to you, may not. Just sharing from my experience. So I'm going to share 2 stories with you, Jason, and hopefully these are helpful. So the first story comes from when I was a black belt. So I had a problem with me being frustrated all the way from white to black belt, and it had its last gasp as a black belt. And so what would happen is when I would roll with someone, if they ruffled my feathers, if they made me angry, if they beat me, whatever, just something happened, my brow would furrow. Like in the gym, we used to actually have a term for it. It was called the Chewy face. No one really knows what the Chewy face anymore except for the old schoolers, because I don't do it anymore. But back in the day, you rolled with me, if you got me, if you ruffled my feathers, if you did something, my face would get really, I can't even do it. I just get angry looking. And I would come at people like 10 times harder. Now, I never hurt anybody, but I would come after them. I'd be all over them, putting pressure on them, and just squeezing, and then I would, apply the submission and get the submission. Had to, right? Had to show that I was better or whatever. I don't know. It was something stupid. I think mostly it was insecurity. And I did this. Now, as I got better and better, from white to blue belt, all the way to black belt, it lessened. And so I did it less and less and less, but it was still there sometimes. And it had its little last gasp, as I said, as a black belt, when I was rolling with a friend of mine. And we were rolling, we'd been in part of this training camp that went like 3 days straight. It was like 3 training sessions per day. And it was literally the last training session of the last day and the last roll. And I'm rolling with my friend here, and he gets me in a heel hook in the gi. Now, for me at the time, stupid, but I instantly took offense to it, and I got up, I was like, dude, you can't heel hook in the gi. It's illegal. What the hell is illegal, right? So, I mean, now if I got caught, I'd just escape, but then I don't know why I got so angry about it. So I got angry. He put me in the heel hook in the gi. So I immediately slap hands, go with him, and I pass his guard, I put knee on belly on him, and I just fucking drive that knee into his stomach to show him, like, yeah, show you. Because I lost my cool, because I was tired and I was frustrated. And I created some hard pressure in his ribs and separated a rib, a little bit of cartilage separation. He was out for about 3-4 weeks. And I got up, sort of like, was like, yeah. But then I looked back and I see my friend wincing in pain. I was like, and I instantly was like, fuck, man. Like, I felt terrible, because again, I knew why. Because again, accidents do happen, but in that situation, the reason the accident happened was because I got angry for a second, I got frustrated, and I did that, right? I felt terrible. I bought him dinner, and then, it was funny though, afterwards, like, our friendship got better after that situation, because, he was a cool guy, and he understood, like, hey, don't worry about it, things happen, and we ended up, like, hanging out, getting breakfast and dinner together all the time, and, like, shooting shit, but good dude, right? And so we became friends afterwards, no problem. But again, that was kind of the worst case scenario. And afterwards, I was like, I don't ever want to do that again. I never want to hurt someone. I never want to take someone off the mats because of my own bullshit, right? And so sort of the flip side to this, and sort of I don't know what you would call it, but just the exact opposite, was when I was training here on the mats one day back in 2014. So I was training with my students. Right here, I was actually right on this. This is my little area, if you will. Like, when I roll, this is typically, I like to roll here by the front door. So this is my spot, and we were doing king of the mat. So the way it works is we have guys in the gym. They'll be out. So you'll have like 1, 2, maybe 5 people out in the center of the mat, and then you have everyone else on the wall. And so what happens is, let's say the person comes out, they'll fight for the takedown. The winner of the takedown battle stays in, loser goes out, and it just cycles through. And so you see if you can stay in for a long period of time. It's exhausting, and it's a fun drill. And so we were doing king of the mat, and so I've been taking the guys down. I ended up going against my buddy Jangus, who's like super tall, and so I shot in for Kataguruma, fireman's carry, and in the gi, and dropped down. And as I dropped down to the side, his knee came up, boom, and hit me right in the nose. And I felt the shock. I instantly dropped to my knees and was like hovering, my hands over my nose. And I felt this warm liquid start to pool up in my hands. And I raise up a little bit to let some light down, and I see that it's red, and then my hands are just covered in red blood. And my nose doesn't bleed very often. So the fact that it was bleeding at all was pretty rare because my nose has been broken several times straight on. And so I was like, man, my nose never bleeds like this. This can't be good. And then I look up, and all of my students are lined up on the wall right here. And everyone just in unison, just like all at the same time go, oh, like they all do this. Like, so I was like, man, this is not going to be good. So I stand up, and I'm just, again, blood's just dripping all over me. And Jangus, my buddy, he's just like, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. And again, my knee-jerk reaction was frustration and anger initially, right? I wanted to be like, dude, what were you doing? Like, why did you knee me? What's wrong with you? But I was like, you know what? Accidents happen, and I know he didn't mean to do anything. I don't know if he was getting ready for a fight at the time, so I don't know if maybe it was just like that knee was just like, kneeing someone was just like ingrained in his body, but it was an accident. So I was just like, I gave him a slap with my bloody hand on the side. I was like, I mean, no worries, it's an accident. And I looked at everybody else, and everybody else just kind of stopped. I was like, man, training's not over, keep going, you know what I mean? And so then I walk back and I clean up and I look at my nose, and my nose was like over here on the side of my face. Come to find out, it was broken in 3 places. They eventually fixed it surgically. And actually, I think it improved my breathing. I felt like I can breathe better after the nose surgery, so maybe it was a good thing. But I illustrate those 2 points because I think one of the cool lessons that jiu-jitsu has to teach one is that, you got to make sure it makes you more aware of your own bullshit, right? Because whether it be fear, frustration, anger, whatever it is, you become very aware of your emotions, especially when you're pushed into really uncomfortable situations. Like when I first started jiu-jitsu, I used to be kind of a bitch from mount. Like when I would lay on my back and like people would be there, especially when I got tired, my body's knee-jerk reaction, my instinct was to tap out so I could get out of that position. I wanted to quit. And I had to catch myself mentally and be like, no, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to fight through this. I know that I can fight through this. Just keep going. And then in situations like that where I lost my cool and I got frustrated over something so stupid, right? And I hurt someone, that was something where, again, I had to become more aware of myself. Just like you become more aware of your movements and your body and your opponent's movements and your opponent's body, you have to become aware of your own emotions, your own internal struggles. And that's kind of a cool thing because, again, it's a cool thing that jiu-jitsu has to offer to make us mentally stronger, not just physically, right? And with you, accidents definitely happen, Jason. And so really, you seem like you have a little bit of guilt with this. Here's what I would say to you, man. If you executed these moves and there was no shred of frustration, no shred of anger, and you were merely applying them with control and saying, you know what, hey, let's see that, like testing it out, like trying to stay tight with it, and then it just accidentally happened, the guy just didn't tap, no problem, man. It's an accident, and again, we're not playing patty cake. We're playing a rough friggin' sport, and it's a rough martial art, and that's okay, right? Things will happen, accidents will happen. But if you feel like you got in there and you were like, maybe get even just a shred of it, right? Like a little frustration. If you started to pull, and if you started to pull with like a little bit of anger, then that's where you got to check yourself. And honestly, man, if you ever feel like, and again, maybe this isn't you, but maybe someone else is watching this and you feel like maybe you get angry when you roll. If you ever feel like that, just cut, man. I'm done for a second. I need to go walk, right? Because you don't want to roll with anger. One, it's going to cloud your ability to perform well. Like when I used to get angry, when I got really angry, it always led to worse things happening because then I'm not thinking properly anymore. I'm just like being a dick and I don't do what I'm supposed to do. I lost my ability to be calm, cool, strategic, and tactical, right? It's just gone. I'm just like, I'm gonna grab you. And at the same time, you don't want to hurt anybody and you don't want to roll with negative emotions like that because then it really just messes up the dynamic between you and your partners, because then you go from being like able to exchange moves and techniques and be friendly and fun to now you're becoming an asshole and you're just trying to win and you're just becoming a dick. Now again, there can be a little bit of negative sometimes emotions to sort of fuel you and get you prepped up for tournaments and stuff like that, but day-to-day training you shouldn't have that as a part of it. So if you feel like you're getting there, just cut it, because you don't want to be like me when I was a freaking black belt and hurt one of your partners because you got frustrated. So I think it's it, Jason. So Jason, I hope that helps. I hope just the stories, maybe they illustrate something that maybe you were going through. But again, if it was just an accident, it's an accident. Don't worry about it. Maybe talk to the guy afterwards and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry, man. Just make sure if like you get caught there, just tap, whatever, or talk to your coach or whatever. And as far as like you mentioned that people had said that they don't like to roll with you, ask them why. Like, again, figure out the reasons why, because maybe you're not aware of what you're doing, and maybe they can tell you something to help you out to make you a little bit more safe or a little bit more whatever that they're requiring. I don't know. But again, that's my answer, brother. Jason, I hope that helps. Talk to you guys next time.